A pleasant good day, wherever you are tuning in into the world right now. I am coming to you live from the beautiful island of Grenada. I know it is winter in some places, and my guest backstage, we already had that exchange where we're saying, can we swap the location in where we're situated today? But we're coming off the third annual 1261 Film Festival, and I'm so excited to be in the presence of today's guest, Chris Stikes. Some of you might be familiar with the names, some would be familiar with his work. Um, I let his music, the videos that he directed, speak for him on his behalf, and then we'll bring him up on stage to introduce himself. So let's see who I am talking about.
Media Productions.
Yo, not even one day in that room I start. One night I should I get a car. Me see me better, miss you and I. You left off in the summer room when you come back. You make me flow like a balloon into the sky. Me see me better, miss you and I. Yeah. Any man you give that pussy, that him a fi honor you. Any girl we say them hate you, them a just a fan of you. Me look up the definition of the baddest on you. Cause anywhere you go, every eye in there you fi follow you. Pussy so good, me wish me about 21 of you. Boy can't style you, but him a go take one and go. And me a fuck you, but me shoulda fuck you long ago. So me no know how some look come and go. Cause it's just you and I. You left a fragrance on my room when you come back. You make me flow like a balloon into the sky. You see me better, miss you and I. Me imagine your head, pa me belly the bumps. Why me slap up your body like I get a jump? Me not even a fear gonna know if you make you come. Two of we bust together like a baby tagon. Oh your pussy feel so warm like we a make a son. If it wet up anymore me coulda set a jump. She deliver it to me, it's like a letter come. Tell Smarty say fi bring a stretcher come. Cause I just you and I. You left off in the summer room when you come back. You make me fly like a balloon into the sky. Me see me better, miss you and I. Position in a me bed bumper, in a the air face down. Collision. We a fuck and make the up shake down. Drop it then you pull it up again like you a play song. Then after that we burn a high grade spliff. Can no bush no day a suffer beton. Girl I miss you and I. You left a fragrance on my room when you come back. You make me fly like a balloon into the sky. Me see me better miss you. Wish me there with you. I'm happy when I'm with you. Even my brother tell me to be together with you. You and I. You left a fragrance on my room when you come back. You make me fly like a balloon into the sky. Me see me better miss you.
Wow. Hi, Chris. It is such an honor to be in your presence right now.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. How are you today?
I am good. I am good. Just chilling and being very grateful for the warmth. I'm not pushing it in your face. I'm not
I,
rubbing it in. I'm not rubbing it in.
you know, I think I'm gonna have to send some cold your way. I think I'm gonna have to talk to the weather and send some cold Arctic air from Canada your way.
Actually, I must say, in the morning times, it's a little bit chilly here. I had my jeans jacket on earlier, so that's
Oh,
okay. That's as much as I can
chilly for
handle.
you is like 15 degrees Celsius. You know, for us, yesterday was 15 degrees Celsius, and that was a good November day. So,
Yes, I remember those days. I actually ran from the cold from New York, and I'm sitting here in Grenada. So, with that, I am just thankful. I'm thankful for this moment right now, like I said, to be in your presence. I've seen this video. I've always been curious as far as who is the director behind it. And now I have the esteemed privilege of sitting virtually across from you, next to you, chatting about the process.
here I am.
So, for those of you who don't know who Chris is, Chris, take a moment to introduce yourself to our audiences tuning in right now.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Chris Stikes. I am a producer director from Toronto, Canada, born and raised in Toronto, Canada, of Jamaican and Bayesian descent. I'm also a Jamaican citizen as well too. Um, and yeah, I've been start off directing music videos probably about 13-ish years ago, 13, 14 years ago, something like that, and have been able to work with the likes of Dexta, Daps, as you saw, Machel, Montano, Kardinal, Offishall, Nelly, Furtado, Ray J, just to name a few. Um, and I, when I first got my start, I was PAing and essentially interning on music video sets of Director X, who many of you might know who Director X is. He's also from Toronto, um, and of Trinidadian descent, and has done the biggest videos in the in biggest music videos in the world for like Drake, Justin Bieber, Usher, 50 Cent, Jay-Z, Diddy, you name it, he's done. He's worked with that particular artist. Yeah, I was PAing on sets of his very long time ago, and then as well to another very astute director from here in Toronto. Or he's originally from Calgary but moved to Toronto, named RT Randall Thorne. Came up under him as well too, and RT's been doing really amazing things. He has a new series coming out about the Black Porters here in Canada, and the first Black union that was created in Canada. So it's a beautiful period piece that's coming. Anyways, rambling a little bit, but yeah. So I was able to observe and study those guys, and learn my craft and shoot videos for local artists coming up and whatnot. And then that progressed into shooting and directing and writing short films, short documentaries, and now into feature documentaries, which just finished earlier this year, Becoming a Queen, which was a part of the 1261 Film Festival.
Yes, it was. Yes,
Hmm.
it was. I mean, you have a wealth of experience under you, but what's most important right now and interesting is the fact that you started in one medium. You started from the space of the music video in the music video world, and then you transferred over into the filmmaking world, which is similar but yet has different disciplines that is applied to each, I guess. Um, Specifications, right? And practices. And you and I spoke about that a few days ago. From the music video standpoint, can we speak a little bit more about the creative process behind doing a music video? As far as interactions with the performers, how much of your own creative directions are accepted by the talent, meaning the in front camera talent or that artist that you're you're doing the video for, or do you just basically go in and create whatever they would like you to create? So let's talk about that creative process and
Yeah,
relationship.
yeah. I mean, it sort of depends on the artist, and it depends on the song as well too. Some artists just kind of give me free range. To kind of just do whatever. And then other artists may have like a little bit of an idea, and then I just like take it and run with it. Or some artists have like a complete, like almost full, I flushed out idea, and then I just
Mm-hmm.
take it and shape it so that it makes sense visually. So it really depends per artist, per song. Um, that video that you showed, the "Missy Me Bed and Miss You" from Dexta Daps,
Mm-hmm.
that was one of those ones where it was like, Dexta's team said, we just want to use a balloon in the video because he references it in the song. And I was just like, man, where are we going to get a hot air balloon from? Because it was actually at the end of hot air balloon season here in the Greater
Wow.
Toronto, Canada, or sorry, the Greater Toronto area. And it was coming to the end of hot air balloon season. And so it was like, yeah, Dexter really wants to use a balloon. And we had like no story behind it or anything. It's like, we just know that, he's talking about this girl that he's into, and we need to have them in a balloon. and, uh, and so,
You had your work cut out for you.
had my work cut out for me. So we scrambled and found a hot air balloon company in like 2.5, 3 days type of thing. And what made it difficult too was he was only in Canada for a limited period of time. And with hot air balloons, you're completely at the mercy of the
The
weather,
wind.
the wind. You're completely, because sometimes there's too much wind and sometimes there's not enough. Um, so you're completely at the mercy of the weather. And I think it was one of those things where there was a day, I think it was like a Thursday. We're supposed to shoot on Thursday, but something happened, the schedule changed or something. And then it was one of those like sort of magical moments, because had we shot on the Thursday, we would have got grounded because the weather was bad. And it just so happened that shooting on the Friday um,
Worked better.
worked better, because I think what happened was Dexter was delayed coming into Canada by one day, so we had to push everything back one day. So I think that was the situation. So it worked out. So all that to say is that, like, that was a thing where it was just like, yo, we need to use a balloon, but then everything else, like, I like sort of filled in, and even just like kind of how we approach the balloon scene and whatnot, I filled in those scenes on the train tracks, or the scenes of him sitting on the steps. That was actually kind of like freestyle directing, because it
Ooh.
turned out that the people who owned the balloon company, that was actually their property, that they graciously allowed us to shoot much of the rest of the video on. So we just kind of went through like, they have like this little forest area that leads to these train tracks. And we're like, well, shoot, we're gonna have them walk through the forest. The sun will be peering through, and like we'll do a performance shot with Dexta on the tracks. And it's like, oh, look at these steps over here. Like we'll sit Dexta down on the steps and do another performance. So like, it's just
On the
free.
fly improvising.
Yeah, yeah. That was, specifically for, that was a scenario specifically for that. But then there's other videos where it's
Mm-hmm.
like, the song just has, the artist just hands me the song and just says, yo, take it, run with it. Like a Carlos Morgan video that I did. Uh, this name of the song is escaping me. And it's, oh man. Anyways, Carlos Morgan video that I did, he sent me the song, and Have a Little Faith. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
He sent me the song, and I was like, this is beautiful. And I see like contemporary dance. Like I see the story of the song being communicated through two beautiful Black bodies, contemporary dancing, and them telling the story through their dance. So, that's like the opposite end, where that was planned out, it was rehearsed, choreographed, all that stuff. So yeah, it just really just depends on the type of production.
I've never done a music video before. And my training is more in documentary filmmaking. I've worked in the commercial space, doing commercials and everything like that. So as far as keeping, like the whole setup, and from storyboarding developing the concept even more and going into production and the whole thing, is still, like I said earlier, is similar, but it's slightly different. Music videos are short form, and it's like, how do you how do you keep the audiences invested in the music video? Like, everything is so fast paced. Can you talk about the difference in setting up the music video concept versus that of a short film?
Yeah, like I mean, for me personally, and every director is different, but for me personally, um, I approach it like a film. So,
Mm,
there's always, and this is actually something I think, this is something that I learned from like X back in the day, Director X, when he was still known as Little X, um, was just, you know, at each stage, there always has to be like a progression or a reveal of something new. There has to be like a new information that's passed or new progression. And sometimes it can be the most subtlest thing, right? Sometimes it could just be, um, the the way an artist is performing, their energy just lifts. Or you shoot at, like, as the video is progressing, you shoot, even if it's like one scene, one location type of thing, you shoot it in different ways. So as it's going, as the song is progressing and the video is progressing, you introduce new angles, or you introduce or reveal new things. Like maybe there's a piece of art direction that you introduce that's integral to the story, or maybe there's just a different camera move that you introduce that helps to highlight the emotion that the song is giving, or the context of the lyrics. Um, so it's just about that idea of like just continually progressing. Like the ending of the video shouldn't be the same as the beginning of the video.
mm-hmm.
In most cases, in most cases, there are obviously exceptions to the rules, and especially if you're telling a story out of order, like if you start the video with the ending of the story and then you bring it all back by the end of the video, right? So those are some exceptions, but the end of the video generally should be different from the beginning of the video. And even like I mentioned, even if the scene itself is the same, something about the performer should be different. And that's something that you see in movies often, and in characters and in protagonists.
Yes,
In protagonists, every time, or not every time, but most of the
most of
time,
the
the
time.
majority of the time, we see the protagonist at the end of the film, and versus the first time we see the protagonist, they look completely different, whether they have gone through a positive transition or whether they've gone through a negative transition. If you put them side by side, you see that they are different. Oftentimes, it could be hair, it could be makeup, it could be the wardrobe. It could be that they were an individual and then now they are a part of a team, or they're in a relationship, whatever the case may be. So it's just that constant progression that like I use from movies and apply that to music videos to keep the audience engaged.
I love it. I love it. Because here in Grenada, most of the productions that are done, the guys here do a lot of music videos here. And quite often they refer to themselves as videographers versus that of directors. And I love the fact that you hit on the notion that the approach and the whole idea of music videos is also telling stories in the form similar to that of a film, just the same. And I am rallying around them to start shifting the narratives as far as how they're framing and positioning themselves. Instead of saying videographers, consider yourself a music video director. That goes a whole different, it carries a different weight than just saying I'm a videographer in that sense on the international standpoint, because they are doing amazing work. But today, you're from, how do you how do you go about, um, more or less, getting work and remaining sustainable? First, because this first segment is talking about music videos. As a music video director, how do you remain sustainable in this industry? It is so fleeting. Every 5 seconds, someone else is just like you drop a video and then they move on. How do
Yeah.
you remain sustainable in this industry?
I mean, that's always the trick, right? In this film industry, that is definitely the trick. So it's a great question. You know, I tend to just reach out to artists, or I have artists reach out to me. The thing with me is that I don't really just call myself a music video director. I just call myself a director.
That's right.
And it's because I do different productions. So I will do like commercial and promotional stuff. I will do some corporate stuff as well too, some brand stuff as well. And lately I've been working on documentary projects. So in terms of sustainability, lately, the last few years, I create my own opportunities. You know, not everybody has the luxury for that, but I think that that's something that can allow us to become sustainable, is creating your own opportunities, right? Like with Becoming a Queen, that was creating my own opportunity. And now I'm working on a new documentary that's going to be premiering in February on our national broadcaster, CBC.
Nice.
And that was an opportunity that I created, right? Like I saw an article, I called them, asked them if anybody had ever done a film about this particular topic before. And they said no. They said they love the idea of it, and just, you know, put together a treatment for them and whatever, and pitch to them. And that's exactly what I did. And then, you know, that happened in February. They greenlit it in around about April. And then we got into pre-production like late May, early June, shot in August. Our first block shot in last month, our second block. And in 3 hours, we have a meeting with them to talk about the rough cut of the film. So
amazing.
Yeah, and so, you know, that was just from like reading an article saying this is an incredible story, and just, you know, pitching it to them, and pitching the value of them coming on board to get behind the project. And yeah, here we are less than a year later, and the film will pretty much be done by the end of the year / like kind of middle January type of thing. So less than 365 days. So, you know, and then we'll do it again. Like I'll, you know, there are other ideas that I'm working on, other topics that I'm working on, and when I have the capacity to sort of flesh them out more, put together packages, we just do it all over again, pitch it to whoever it feels right for, and pitch it to whoever we can, and just keep going that way. And that's kind of how you have to do it, particularly with film. With music videos, it is a little bit different, but with music videos, you can also pitch yourself to the artist in a very similar way.
Got you.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you who have not seen Becoming a Queen during the festival, I just want to take a moment to showcase the trailer for Becoming a Queen, and then we can talk a little bit more about Becoming a Queen, because I think it is something that is so reminiscent and so expressive of us and our culture here in the Caribbean. The colors is just magnificent, the lighting choices that you've made. So we'll dive into that in a few. Let's play Becoming a Queen.
That's Carlos.
حبيبي تعال تعال نتلم مدام الريت اختلط بالدم.
That's Elsie's. I know, that's Elsie's right there.
Third time the charm.
Third time's the charm. Yep.
She is a carnival queen.
One of the premium mass players in any country.
And we're meeting the queen of queens right now, Joella Crichton.
Carnival for me is an opportunity to be free and express myself creatively.
Carnival is an expression of my ego.
Each individual representing specific bands will compete against each other to be crowned the king or the queen.
The king and queen really is the ultimate.
People see it as the Olympics of Caribbean culture.
I won it for the 7th time in a row. That's 9 times winning.
Nobody has done what she has done.
It's really, really difficult to do what she's done.
And I don't think people really get how much of a feat that is.
This year's costume is called Harmony. The inspiration comes from the theme of the band, which is love.
Hopefully it's a winner, guys.
The King and Queen competition also has another category, which is the male and female individual, and that's what I compete in.
Between Joella and Machel, there are no two sisters who could portray a costume like they could.
Two people vying for Queen of this year's Toronto Carnival. We've got the 7-time reigning champ and the challenger over here.
This year was so special because Joella was going for 10 wins.
Nobody in the history of Toronto Carnival has won 10 queens.
If I don't win, I'm done. I already promised that to you.
Decision was made that this would be her last time playing Queen.
Since it'll be the last time Joella's doing it, it'll be my last too, and it'll be all cute, sister, sister.
As I begin to win more, I feel unwelcomed because of the statements that people were making about my team and me and the way we competed.
There's this rivalry because everybody wants to win.
They're coming for you.
They're coming. I know. This is the big test, eh?
The weight is heavy to have it end well.
I don't know. I don't think this is the winning costume as it stands right now.
It does feel like I left a legacy, and I'm happy with it.
Wow. So this is Becoming a Queen, and it is such a beautiful film, just talking about us and our culture here. So let's dive into it. How did you get assigned to doing Becoming a Queen?
I assigned myself to doing
Yeah, of course, it's creating opportunities, but
creating
finding the settings. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So Joella is a friend of mine, and we had worked on a previous short film before that. And when I went to her house the first time, or to her mother's house, like in and around the house, like they have like all these blown up photos of like Carnival, of Joella in her Queen costumes. They have like her headpieces on display, her chest pieces on display. Like her mom's house looks like a Carnival museum. And I was like, yo, this is amazing. Like this looks amazing. Like, has anybody ever told your story before? And she's like, no, not really. Like other than like a few little news interviews and stuff, like 5-minute interviews and stuff like that. But no one's ever really like deep dove into her story. And I was like, well, because at that time she was aiming to win her 9th Carnival, Queen of the Bands. And so I mentioned to her at first, like, you know, if you win this year, that means next year you're going to be going for 10. Like, I think we should do a documentary about that. Like, I think that would be like pretty awesome to do. And we kind of just said it like just casually, just like as a joke almost. And so Joella was just like, yeah, kind of just laughed it off. And I kind of did as well too. And then so I was at the King and Queen where she won her 9th, which was in 2017. Mm-hmm. And then I was just like, because that was the first time that I like I'd seen her perform previously, but I just didn't know her. So I didn't know that, like, I knew her performances, right? So this is the first time I've seen her perform with knowing her. And I was just like, and I was just like, this is incredible. And I think we should really do this because going for 10 is a huge thing. Nobody's ever done it before. And I think we should like document the whole process, right? And then she was just kind of like, yeah, I don't think my life is all that interesting. And I was like, well, you know, let's meet and let's talk and like tell me about kind of how all this works and stuff like that. And then we'll see. And then so we met a couple of times, I think. And she just told me her story just in Carnival. She told me like her involvement at like since like 3 years old, which was her first mass, and then all the way up to at the time 2017. So essentially her whole life. And I was like, you know, the thing that I love about this story is that it's so positive and it's so rooted in like it like you and your family are a microcosm to what Carnival means to so many of our community, and we have to tell that story, especially because nobody's told that story before. So it's like we can zero in on your story as you're aiming to achieve this amazing feat, but then also dive into these other elements of Carnival, such as the history, the significance, the love, the family element to it. Because one of the things that that I quickly learned that I hadn't previously known, because I've only ever just gone to Carnival just for the bacchanal, just to go have fun, you know, just go
Jump up on wave, jump up on wine, right?
Just for the bacchanal. That's all I went to Carnival for previously, and filming it as well too. But like when Joella was like, you know, Carnival is all about love and it's about family,
And
I was like,
community.
and community. I was like, that's what I want to hang my hat on for this film, and really communicating the love, the family element of it, the community element of it, and the generations, the way that it's just passed down generations. So I was like, you know, that's what this documentary will be about. So I was eventually able to convince her to want to partake in this, and yeah, the rest is history. That was just, again, one of those things. I outlined it, wrote the package, wrote the pitch package, and just pitched it. You know, there was a producer who was very interested in the project, but it didn't work out. Like he actually was the one who originally introduced me to our national broadcaster, CBC, and he was somebody who I never knew. I just saw his name in the credits of a director that I had known and looked up to, and saw like a previous documentary he worked on, and it said produced by such and such, and I was just like, okay, I'm calling him. I'm looking him up, calling him. And I just cold called him and was like, hey, I have this awesome thing. I saw that you did this film for Charles Officer. You produced this film for Charles Officer about Desmond Cole, and it was really dope. And I have this that, you know, is similar realm, Black communities, stuff like that. And it was like, dude, great. Like, so we met. He was interested. Again, it just didn't happen to work out. Yeah. But the fact that like he brought me in to meet like some gatekeepers and decision makers. That's right. You know what I mean? Like that was a huge thing. And that all just came from just, I saw his name on the screen in the credits, cold called him and was like, boom, like, you know what I mean? Like let's do this type of thing. And same thing with because Hot Dogs came on board as a major funder of this film, Hot Dogs Cross Current Canada.
Wow.
For people who are not familiar with Hot Dogs is like one of the biggest documentary film festivals in the world, which actually takes place here in Toronto. And you know, it was the first year that they had this particular grant. I just cold called them and I was like, tell me about this grant. I'm gonna apply to it. I don't know anything about it. Like, tell me about this grant. What do I got to do to get it? What's all the information you need? Ray. And so, you know, I called them, must be about like 5 times throughout the application process. And it turned out like, even like kind of afterward, like when we started developing a relationship and all that, they were like, you know, you were the only one that actually called us. Everybody else emailed us, but like you stuck out because you like called us, and people don't call people anymore.
Exactly, that confident. You know, you hit it on the nail, because that's exactly how I go about expanding my network. I see things, I like the work that that person is doing, and it's like, I want to get to know you. Whether it works out now or in the future, it's nice to start building those relationships. And that's exactly my process is in going about getting people to do what it is. But I'm taking something from you today in the sense of calling these funders, calling these gatekeepers, and be like, hey, hey.
And I think the one secret that I sort of learned throughout this process that a lot of people won't admit, but I found this to be true. And I don't know how much this applies in Grenada, but like in Canada, they need our content more than we need them, right? And especially as so many networks are looking to broaden and diversify, not just diversify in terms of like, you know, race and gender and all those things, but just like they want to tell, like they want to reach greater audiences because
yes, they do.
They know the landscape is shifting, right? So they want more stories from all different corners and different types of stories, different types of content,
Yes.
different types of voices. So although everybody is sort of applying for or pitching for the sort of same or similar pool of money, at the end of the day, they need our content more than we need them. And I think if you go into it with that attitude, not with the arrogance, but with that confidence,
Yes.
I think that would help to overcome certain barriers, as like, you know, as sometimes people may get nervous about pitching, or sometimes people may feel that, oh, maybe I shouldn't call them, like, am I bothering them? It's like, no, they need our content more than we need them, right? Because the thing is, they have to justify every year getting a certain amount of money and then growing that money every year, right? They have to justify that, right? Whereas we as the content creators, in the worst case scenario, we can always just put it out on YouTube and build up our fan base, build up an income from that, right? We see so many examples of that. Instagram, TikTok, Twitch now is the new thing. So we see that there's endless content everywhere that so many people are able to capitalize off of, whatever capitalizing looks like to them. So, you know, when it comes to these decision makers, you know, be fearless about wanting to pitch to them, be fearless about taking new, fresh ideas to them, and also to be fearless about pitching to them something that doesn't exist, or doing something a way that they've never done before. Because even with the new documentary that we're on, I don't want to reveal too much just yet, especially until I have the meeting with them.
Yes.
I can ask them how much I can reveal about it.
Yes.
But this documentary, in the way that we're doing it, in like the certain elements of the production, we're actually creating history for the specific platform or the specific stream of that network that it's going on. We're creating history for that. So we are now pushing or creating a new blueprint for others to come behind and look to our film. Hopefully everything works out with it, where others behind can look to our film and know that that's a new possibility, that this broadcaster has never done that type of story before until now, or that type of style of filmmaking until now, you know. So that's my very passionate rant about, like, which ties into sustainability, which ties into, you know,
creating opportunities.
Yeah, who assigned me to a particular project? It's like I signed myself.
No, this is amazing, because I remember, and trust and believe me, I know I'm going to screw it up because I always do, but the essence is the same. I remember hearing a quote or seeing a quote from Ava DuVernay where she says, you have to create your own opportunities and open up your own doors. And trust and believe me, the others will, you know, more doors will open up after the fact. And I took that with a grain of salt and I ran with it, you know. Hence the reason why the festival was created. I needed to create a platform not just for myself, but also to help support and empower different creatives with, you know, from our background, have a place to empower them and give them the reach for audiences. So as I build, they're building as well, you know. And it is not easy, but I don't accept no. I'm someone who, when you tell me no, I may say okay. But I don't really accept no. It may sting a little, but I don't accept no. I look to see what are the doors can I now knock on and open in order to do so. But one of the things I love what you said today, and it's going to be my word for the day, is be fearless. Or my 2 words for the day, be fearless. And it is so true, especially in this world that we're in, because now we're seeing more and more people are deeming themselves creatives. You have a cell phone, you're creating. There's a whole new generation, a whole new wealth of things that has never been done before. And this is the TikTok era, when 60 seconds or less, you're creating stories, and really compelling stories as well. So it's like remaining relevant and doing the things that you like to do, but not getting caught up with what the masses are doing. So I love that piece of advice that you just gave today right now. And I hope people who are hearing this, who are listening in, are actually hearing what you just said, because that's just like golden.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and like a lot of times, no just means not now.
That's
I
right.
can't remember who I heard say that, but when I heard somebody say that, um, that was really profound, and where like no is not really a no, it's just not now. Because sometimes, and I found this in my experience of pitching as well too, when a gatekeeper says no, it's not because they don't like your idea. It's just that whatever their mandate is, whatever their theme is, whatever
At
their
that moment.
at that moment, it just doesn't work at that moment, right? So no oftentimes is a not now. And the thing is, it's like, if these broadcasters are smart, a lot of them don't want to be left behind to the internet, right? A lot of them want to keep up with what's going on with the internet. So if there's things that they have been doing a certain way for like lots and lots of years, but then some new voice, new creative comes in with like a new way of doing something, and can show them the upside to it, the benefit to it, and pitch it to them as like, you can be a leader in adapting this new style or adapting this new voice or whatever the case may be, because these broadcasters, a lot of them are gatekeepers, a lot of them, like I mentioned, they don't want to get left behind, and they do want to be able to say, oh yeah, we were the first within the broadcast world to adapt this or to start doing this, right? It's like those brownie points. So that's a part of the fearlessness as well too, where it's like they have to adapt to us more than we have to adapt to them, type of thing, right? Because things are changing so much, especially like with the metaverse coming in now. That's going to change content incredibly, right? In ways we can't even imagine right now. I recently read an article about the increased integration between Hollywood and video games, and the virtual reality space and the augmented reality space, right? So people don't want to get left behind on those things. So those are opportunities, and like, back in the day, I used to get cussed out a lot for playing a lot of video games, right? As I'm sure most of us did, right? But like now there's a whole market where you can make millions of dollars off of either making video games or using that technical knowledge to like design the video games or be a consultation of figuring out how to merge video game elements with like other types of content elements. Like you understand what I'm saying? So it's just you can't get left behind in those things, and you can't be afraid to sort of continue pushing the needle on things.
That is such an important point, because one of my sister festivals that I mentor, she is my mentor. She hates when I say that, but I look up to her because she has years of experience in the business than I do, and that's the Harlem Hip Hop Film Festival. And this year they introduced the metaverse aspect of the festival. And I'm like, yo, this is dope, right? And that's how you're retaining the engagement within the community. I'm not a video game person. That whole eye-hand coordination thing never really worked well for me. But I'm like, listen to me. I need to shift mindsets now and get into that, because you're absolutely right. That is the new wave. That is the new generation in how these kind of integration is happening. And not only from the streaming and the streaming sites and the major box office, those big gatekeepers thing, but also from the way creators are actually designing the work that they are now putting out. So we have to have that nice dance between it. Are you going to be doing things in the metaverse? Are we expecting that soon?
I mean, I gotta see what the metaverse looks like first before I can see like what I can do with it or whatnot, because I don't want to get trapped in a never-ending episode of Black Mirror. So.
I know. They said to me, Machel, please join the metaverse. And first of all, in Grenada here, I don't have access to 3D glasses and the whole headsets and stuff. So that wasn't working out well for me. So I said, next time I'll come up. We have a comment here by Vanessa. She said that, let's see, I'm bringing it up. Such a positive brother. I love his style. We say that in Mary Kay too. No, not right now. So true. Thank you, Vanessa. And, a lot of what we do in our creative world is so transferable over in different industries, is how you apply certain things to make it into something for you to be so effective and sustainable. Oh, my goodness. Question for you.
Mm-hmm.
From a filmmaking standpoint for crew, let's talk about crew up. From a music video standpoint, is it like a one-man crew, or do you have to have a whole extensive set of people on your music video set as opposed to that of your film set? What's the difference in the crew setup and situation?
I that's another great question, and I think once again, it's one of those things where it depends on the size and scale of the video. I've done videos where there have been 100 people on set.
Wow. Music videos?
Yeah. Mostly extras, but like where we had a crew of like, I think about 15 or so, and then we had about 100 extras, at least 100 extras, between 100 and 150. And then I've also done music videos where it's just me and the artist. So, it really just depends on the scale, the creativity of it, the budget as well too. But in general, I tend to work with a small crew. Like I would say on average, tend to work with, cinematographer and our tech crew, which would include a first AC, a gaffer, grips, PAs, production assistants, art department. So I would say, like, on average, I generally work with crews of between 7 and like 10 people type of thing. But like I said, we worked with bigger crews and much more people on set. And then I've worked in situations where it's just been myself. So
do you do your own filming, or you do both? Do you do your own camera work or editing? What aspect do you specialize in? Or you just totally direct?
So again, it depends on the shoot. So for example, the video that I've done, and I think I've done more than one video where it's just been me. But the videos that I've done where it's just been me, obviously I'm DPing and editing as well too. The videos where we've had a crew, I had somebody else do the cinematography, which is the number one thing that I prefer to do. Like if there's like one position that I'm going to delegate and I can only delegate, is being able to work with the cinematographer. I generally edit most of my own stuff, and then I produce a lot of my own stuff. But again, I've worked with producers, I've worked with other editors. The documentary I'm working on now, working with another editor on that. So again, it just depends on the scale and the scope of the shoot, the budget level of the shoot and whatnot. So yeah.
No, that's understandable, and I respect that, because for me, I can shoot, but I prefer not to. I love to see things from a stand, like you can sit back and observe what is happening, and then you direct it in that sense when you're on set. But if I have to, I will. But I'm like you. If I have to, if it's only one position that I have to delegate, I would say, can I have my DP with me? Because you just see differently from outside of the lens of the camera.
Absolutely.
And then you do my editing.
Yeah, you could focus a whole lot more. I find when working with the DPs, I can focus a whole lot more on the performance, whether it's an artist or an actor. I can focus a whole lot more on a performance, and especially like when working with actors, I can remember the note. I can better remember the notes that I need to give them, because especially on longer takes, where it's like literally I'll just, as I see things that I want to fix in a take, I'm just like this, like off, like just, I just have my hand, I'm just like that, oh, let me, that.
That's your signs. Yes,
that,
I'm seeing it.
that, you know, and I'm just doing that to myself to remember that I have 4 notes or 5 notes that I want to give to my cast. You know what I mean? Where I can't do that if I'm holding the camera at the same time. So yeah, I just find that I can pay closer attention to performance if I'm not also shooting.
I love it. Yeah. The time is running by so quickly, and I swear, me and technology, right? The time is running by so quickly, and I know this conversation is about how do we transition and how do we utilize the skill set from one medium to the next. You talk about what's next for you as far as any directors, because we're shifting the narratives right now and we're calling ourselves directors, whether it's from the music world or whether it's from the film world. From directors here in the Caribbean looking in at this right now, if you can give them one advice as far as we talked about creating your own opportunities here in the Caribbean, it might be a little bit different in reaching these broadcasters and these gatekeepers internationally. But if I'm playing devil's advocate right now and I'm saying, man, that's great, all the advice that you're giving, but you're talking from an international standpoint. What can we do here in the Caribbean to start now reaching those broadcasters out there to say, this is some things that we are creating here? How do we get the attention of those individuals out there? What kind of advice you would give coming from as a Jamaican, as a fellow Jamaican, Caribbean director? How can we break those barriers and reach wider investors?
So honestly, I think you guys have to create, and I say you guys as if I'm separating myself, but this includes me as well too.
Yeah.
But I think the best thing to do is to create a culture around our stories. And with that culture comes a valuation and a dollar amount valuation, right? And if you and what I mean by that is, if you look at the examples of our cultures that have been successful and that have like transitioned into mainstream. So if we look at reggae music, if we look at soca music and / carnival culture, and if we look at Afrobeat as well too, which is the one of the biggest music right now. All of those elements, and Nollywood as well too. Let me throw in Nollywood, and even to an extent Bollywood out of India, right? So in each of those examples, those were about people creating a culture around their own stories, around their own music, around their own visuals, which for quite a bit of time was ignored by, let's say, mainstream America or Europe or wherever, right? Until it became so big within the localities that it was too big to ignore, right? So, and that takes time. And, you know, that's not something that a lot of people can really, I guess, like manage or handle well, is the notion of things really taking time. But that's kind of what it takes, is creating this culture around just around your own locality, wherein the sort of bigger investors want to come to you, type of thing, right? Because when you're in, like, it's difficult for me to say, like, you know, if you're in Grenada and you're a filmmaker, like, how do you reach Netflix, or how do you reach Amazon, or how do you reach BBC? I can't answer that. I don't know how the setup is over there, how the infrastructure is over there. But what I do know is that there's internet over there, just as there's internet here, just as there's internet anywhere else, you know. So there's Instagram, or now the metaverse. all over, right? So I think really using those platforms and to be able to reach people, and especially if it's a situation where you know, let's say you make a piece of content, a film or whatever it may be, that you feel it can work in certain, to cross platforms, or sorry, to cross barriers overseas. So something that I did with some of my short films is I targeted certain local audience. So like when I set my parameters of like the Instagram marketing and stuff like that, like, so I set like Miami, New York, certain areas of Boston, Philadelphia, where there's big Black communities there. I set Accra, Ghana. I set Lagos, Nigeria. I set Birmingham, UK. I set London, UK as well too, as like some of my parameters. So I just kind of looked at places where where I believed that my story could speak to people, and set my marketing parameters to reach those places first at the very least. And I found that I got quite a bit of engagement for it. So I think that's where Caribbean located artists and filmmakers can really take advantage of in reaching outside of their own locales, and targeting these marketings. And even if you aren't able to do like paid for advertise, like hashtag certain markets, right? Like you could be in Grenada, but hashtag Brooklyn, New York.
That's right.
You know, hashtag Miami. Hashtag Boston, whatever the Black communities are in Boston, or whatever the Caribbean communities are in Boston, right? So those are ways that we can sort of help push our content out there, so that it comes off the island, let's say, and transcends as well too. And from there, like continually building the culture around our localities, building it to a point where it then becomes unignorable and undeniable, the way that Afrobeat has been, the way that Nollywood has been, the way that Bollywood has been, and the way that reggae music and soca music and carnival has been. So
I love it. No, I love it. And there is a huge shift in the region right now, where they're really pumping in resources. Chris, if you're not aware just yet, they're pumping in a lot of resource in the Caribbean region right now, in this whole orange economy, and trying to get the creative industry activated and expedited here as a huge trade component. For the region, to increase the GDPs for each individual countries and throughout the Caribbean region. So what you're saying makes absolute sense. I love the fact that you're saying to focus on the locality, focus on our stories. Interestingly enough, that's our tag, right? Our culture, our stories, right? And that goes a long way, because our stories, there are so many untold stories here in the Caribbean that I think can be cross-bordered internationally as well. It's just a matter of us focusing and getting the work done.
Absolutely. And I know our time is running out, but one thing that I really, 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 really want to emphasize is, as we're talking about, like, you know, cross barriers and opportunities and stuff like that, for Caribbean filmmakers, let's reach out to our continental African brothers and sisters, and our diaspora African brothers and sisters as well too, because in the last few years there's been such a strong effort to connect the diaspora back to Africa and connect Africa and the Caribbean. One of the reasons why I'm 35 and I got my Jamaican citizenship only last year during the pandemic, so I was 34. One of the reasons why I got it was actually because Ghana in 2008 or 2009, somewhere in that time, had made economic agreements with Caribbean countries, including Jamaica. So right now, it's easier for me to go to Ghana on a Jamaican passport and with my Jamaican citizenship than it is to go with a Canadian passport and Canadian citizenship. With a Canadian passport, I need a visa. With a Jamaican passport, I don't. So please, let's connect. And there's such a huge population. They are so interested in our culture. So interested in our culture. I have such a strong interest in their culture as well too. And like, one of my dreams is to buy land in Ghana, right? So like when we're looking at audience and we're looking at like getting our work out there and getting our art out there, I know there's so much focus on US, Europe, those let's call them the whiter spaces, right?
Yes.
But let's not ignore our brothers and sisters on the continent and in the diaspora who are from the continent, because there's so much huge opportunity there. The population is huge.
Yeah.
The market has so much potential, and don't get left behind on that.
I totally agree with you. Hence the reason why for our festival, we say that we are promoting work from the Caribbean and African diaspora and continental. Over the years, some of the films that graced our stage here at 1261 came from different regions throughout Africa. And we have since seen them moved on to major international streaming sites like the Netflix, and just being able to have that kind of relationships and association is key. I am right there with you. I feel that because I have my experiences from the US, I understand what's happening, but there's also a huge shift that is taking place right now where you're seeing they're looking to go over to Africa to monetize on that aspect of it. So the whole world now, this whole digital creative space is becoming so, how should I say it, as one, right? So even though we have our pockets and our silos, now you're saying that the internet and the streaming site is allowing us to have that kind of synergy much easier than how it was before. Gone are the days when big Hollywood production studios would buy the stories and shelve them. Now we're saying we're taking control of our narratives. We're telling our stories, so there is no reason to shelve them anymore. And give us the illusion that our stuff was going to be told, and years later it's not. So I am with you on that. I am looking forward myself to getting over to the continent. I haven't been there yet. I have such an extensive network now that I've been building over the last 3 years, and I'm just excited. I'm just waiting for this whole pandemic stuff to end. That we can get over there and just do what we need to do. So I know that was your final thing. I just wanted to say thank you so much, Chris. And I know the conversation is only now beginning between us, but thank you so much for taking this time just to grace my presence and the viewers as well. And I'm looking forward to seeing what that project, that secret project. I'm looking forward to seeing that secret project on your next project, what that form is looking like. So all the best, and we'll catch up outside of here. Thank you to everyone who tuned in, and drop your comments. We'll be sure to answer them even after this broadcast is done. So I'd like to leave the last word to you, Chris. The floor is yours.
Just tell stories that you can't live without them being told. Go forth and create.
Be fearless.
Be fearless. Exactly. Exactly.
All right. Goodbye. And thank you so much again.
Thank you, everybody tuning in. And thank you, Ms. Kita, as well, too. So thank you, the 1261 Film Festival.
Okay.
All right.